All right, Dalton, our number one linebacker in college football. Not much of a surprise for anyone. It is Harold Perkins, the great pass rusher, even great coverage player for LSU this past season, heading into his junior year. What makes him so special?
You have a guy. I mean, it's really weird how you've got a guy who's playing linebacker last year for the first time. He was an edge rusher before that, and a really, really good one, right? And his athleticism allows him still to succeed when he's blitzing and when he's in coverage. He led their team in coverage grade by almost 9 points, which is insane to me when you think about, we've talked about how hard it is to do everything, especially in coverage as a linebacker nowadays, especially in college. And he was really well adjusted to it, but still in the pass rush game, 24 pressures and 6 sacks. Look, I think we know what he can do as a blitzer. We know now what he can do in coverage. As a passing down player, at the very least, he's an elite player because he can give you a two-way threat. He could even spy if you really want him to. He's just a really good athlete, man. Close to a 91st percentile athlete, just a great football player, right? I mean, even if a bit undersized, his instincts, the coverage skills being top 30 in the country are crazy because, again, he hadn't done any of that before as an off-ball linebacker, right? And early in the year, we were like, well, you just are going to have to blitz him. Well, they didn't have to blitz him. He ended up being their best coverage player on an LSU defense that was struggling a lot. I couldn't imagine what they would be without Perkins, right? Rushing the passer or in coverage. But his athleticism, the talent alone to move back there and make the adjustment that quick, playing, I believe, almost 800 snaps, it's really impressive, right? It's now, I think, with another year under his belt, a year to study the tape, a year to get even stronger. He's considering it was just his first year playing the position, and he's as good, if not better, than any linebacker in the country. He had to be our top linebacker in our top 10 list just because of the talent that he has. It's just guys don't make that adjustment that easily. We even had some other guys on our list that struggle to make adjustments in certain aspects.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, he was fantastic as a true freshman in 2022. 91 pass rushing grade, which was led the Power 5 for linebackers and was second among all linebackers in the country. Also second among all linebackers in the country with 18 quarterback knockdowns, which were sacks and hits. And then you mentioned it. They moved him to an off-ball role, which I think was much maligned, including by us. And he responded really well to it. You know, he had 81.1 coverage grade, top 15 in the Power 5, elite pass rusher, man. Proved really capable in coverage, elite athlete too. You mentioned it, 91st percentile in 2023, 99th percentile in 2022. We actually hit 21 miles an hour on our GPS tracking. That is super fast for a linebacker. So yeah, Harold Perkins, elite athlete, man. Great blitzer. Already has some advanced moves already. He had a ghost move against Florida State that was disgusting. He, in that true freshman game against Arkansas, we had 4 sacks in that game. Some of them were some unbelievable moves out there that I believe Mike Renner used to work at PFF. I was actually watching that game live with him, and he was like, man, he looks like Von Miller sometimes out there. And obviously he's not big enough to play on the edge like Von Miller, but it was impressive what he did as a true freshman. So elite blitzer up the A-gap, B-gap, and on the edge as well. I think he's a versatile weapon for a defense and just a chess piece for any defensive coordinator to utilize. What are the negatives, though, Dalton, that you see with Harold Perkins' game right now?
The conversation now and moving forward and through the draft process and forever is just going to be about his frame, right? Checked in at 6'1", 220 last year. And in part because of that, obviously it comes with a lack of experience at the position too, but a 59.4 run defense grade. He falls, into the same conundrum that all these linebackers are having. When I see, most of the linebackers, even in the draft last year, checking in at about 6'1" and 230, it's tough at that size to consistently play the run and consistently to be physical every single play, right? Like, there's no doubt Perkins is elite in one way or the other on passing downs, which obviously at this point in the way the game is today, more important. But when you're that small, even if you're that fast, there's going to be questions about his frame, right? Like, I don't question the athleticism or the speed or even it just like talent. I almost want to say I can't question his talent. It's just that he has this talent in a body that's so in between. Like, if he was 245 or even 250, like playing off the edge, this would be an elite talent. Or if he was even a little bit bigger at like 230 or 235 at linebacker, we might be talking. But to be this small, he still has to put on weight, really, before he gets into the NFL. And I've been thinking to myself more that at this size, I'm not entirely sure that he's going to be a first round pick. I know we mocked that earlier in the spring, but the more I was thinking about it, off ball linebackers don't go in the first round anymore. And at his size, especially, we had guys much bigger than him that could play the run a lot better than him last year that didn't go first round. We didn't get a single linebacker in the first round of this year's draft. So it's always going to be about the frame. Can he either put on weight and keep the athleticism, maybe get himself up to 235, 240, or can he just be so good on passing downs that it doesn't matter, right? But that would be an outlier case. People are going to talk about his size till the end of time.
Yeah, that's the biggest reason why he can't play edge, right? Because his height, I think, would be 0th percentile, and his weight would be 1st percentile for edge defenders. That's just not big enough, man. I understand the Micah Parsons comps where Micah played linebacker and then moved to edge, and he's a elite pass rusher and all that. Micah's bigger than him, man. You can't, it's not the same comparison, because I just don't think Perkins can actually live on the edge in the NFL. I think he's got to live as a just weapon. I think even labeling him as a linebacker or edge defender would be wrong, because it's like just use him in multiple ways. It's a way to use him out there. And you mentioned the size and the run defense is really where it stood out to me the most too. Like, he just gets washed out in some plays, man. And it's going to happen, right? And no matter how athletic you are, it's going to happen when you're only 220 pounds and you're the size of like some safeties out there, right? So I think Harold Perkins has got to put on a little bit of weight if he can. And I think that will really help him as a run defender. And maybe even another year of linebacker under his belt will help him as a run defender as well. Sometimes he's looked a little bit lost out there too. But he's an elite athlete, an elite pass rusher. Looked really, really good in coverage this past year too. But yeah, that size is going to show up, and ultimately why he cannot play edge defender full-time in the NFL, and probably can't even play edge defender full-time in college right now, even though I think LSU should be doing it more this year to help out that defense, because the defense desperately, desperately needs help. I think he just is not big enough to play edge full-time, but certainly good enough to be our number 1 linebacker in college football heading into the 2024 season.